Hi, this is Mark. In this video, I'm going to talk about maximizing opportunities. There are a lot of self-help books out there nowadays, and there are some great self-help books, but there is a lot of deception because of if you go on Amazon, there, the pay rate per that category is at the peak, so therefore, it's going to attract more people within the population to create self-help books. So really, in terms of building success, there's always an absolute limits. And what this limit is we're never going to reach. This is if we were to make every correct move, think of the game of chess. We made no blunders or we made the perfect moves throughout our entire life based on our initial condition of our genetic potential, then we would optimize or maximize the you could you could you could call it success, because success comes in many shapes and forms. It's not just money, it's not just fame. It is a pursuit. Success is a pursuit of some goal, and the goal could be anything really. And in order to optimize it, you have to find the niche that yields the highest or yields the optimal reward feedback. Because if we, and this is dependent on the disparity between our interests and our strengths. Anytime you have a strength, we tend to gravitate towards it because the rate of change and progression is increased. And you could think of, you don't want to go through, try to try to delve into a niche or an area that you, let's suppose, not very interested in, and the rate of progression is like molasses. It's just very, very slow. And what's going to happen is, not only is it going to be agonizing to try to pay attention or to try to focus on it, you're also not receiving the feedback, and therefore it's going to cause it's going to reduce the self confidence, because self confidence is about the probability. Um, it's related to the probability of achieving success for any given event. Um, you want to pursue something, and everyone has a failure. We all have failures, but eventually there's a success. You hit a failure, you hit a failure, you hit a failure, you hit a failure. Now, if it keeps going on, these micro failures, and you're not really getting anywhere, and you don't, um, let's just say, you don't really yield a success, and this really depends on how your expectation for the success, because we define, ultimately we're defining where we want to land, and if it's non-satisfactory, we could consider it's either going to be um, you could consider it a failure, but in actuality, each failure can be transformed and improved and altered in such a way to yield a better outcome, and you could think of that as success. So really, success is more about movement. It's movement forward in some domain. In order to optimize it, there you need, one is optimism, and it's very difficult, I think, just nowadays, because there's so many variables in play. There's a lot of stress, more responsibilities, heavier loads, more, and then with all these variables, it's we have to manipulate in such a way to kind of land where we want to land. But in order to land there, it tends to be proportional, our expectation, um, to to the progression of society as a whole. And so the issue and the reason why, like, being optimistic can be tough is when you know the extremes exist. And there's a flood of so many individuals who have success stories, on YouTube. The interesting thing is, if you take any given video and its in popularity expands, and let's just suppose you could think of it as like a line segment. The video goes down one line segment, meaning it targets the audience in one specific area, a line, meaning like everyone on YouTube is on the line. Then it goes to Reddit. Suppose it transfers to Reddit, grabs some attention. Now it's on a different line segment, and now there's multiple divergent trans modes of transfer. So essentially, all these pathways that exist, which is expanding, increasing exponentially, in the interplay between the nodes. Nodes are the essentially where the audience is. So whenever someone views it, it's a node, and the connection between them is scattered in so many different directions. What this does is it increases the probability of it landing um, right in front of you. It's and therefore something that exists at the extremes is now not an extreme anymore. It's something that is it's something that is happening more frequent. It's hitting the target so many times. We're just shooting in multiple different areas. It's hitting multiple targets, and these are, in actuality, these are extreme cases, but it doesn't. We perceive it. It's almost like it's given like an illusion. So that can a lot of times build an expectation, and if you want to get to that direction, it can be when you set the bar high, that can be demeaning. It can be tough because at the end, in the end, we need to. It's much harder. I think nowadays there's more potential. There's way more opportunities, but the bar is getting set higher and higher and higher. Because think about it like this: YouTube. It's clearly oversaturated. Very hard to gain success on this platform. And think about the thumbnail. Just the expectation of the thumbnail is increasing in quality. More and more people are spending more investment. The people at the extremes, they may have a group or collaboration of multiple people who are all funneling their strengths inward and achieving this extreme, high or very high quality outcome, and it's yielding the success. But it's through the because it's by targeting so many different domains of interest or different areas of strength. Because obviously, like for any given person, we have. If you think of like global, like the world as a global sphere, well, our strengths are only going to be a small subset of that global sphere. So when you can fill in those missing puzzle pieces, when you can fill it in, you get more of a whole picture. It becomes clearer, more vivid, more captivating, and therefore, it's increasing the success. So therefore, the bar is set higher. So if someone does it solo, it can be very, demeaning. It'd be hard to get to that point. And usually, there's something called an S curve. This is something in any given field. It's always starts with the learning curve. You learn, you fail, you fail, and it takes forever to get start moving, to get over the hump. But then it really takes off. But I'm finding nowadays to yield, since the bar is so higher, that's why you kind of need to get those missing puzzle pieces. You need to get targeted. You can't. It's very difficult to work solo. It's not impossible, but the probability is approaching zero as the expectation goes towards infinity. Even though infinity doesn't exist, it's just a way, a means to, uh, it's used as a reference point. But yeah, so that's why it's critical to be optimistic, because people are attracted to positive energy. And almost like, if like for instance, if you were to act narcissistic for a week, you're going to gain more. I mean, you're going to, when you exude confidence and have all these positive traits, this is it can be overshadowed. Someone may not know that you exhibit, or you have, are categorized as a narcissist. A lot of times with narcissism, it's very hard. a lot of people will, you may mention, oh, this person's narcissist or not. It can be very hard to actually be firmly conclusive, or be conclusive that someone exists within the bounds of narcissism or what we define as such, because we all exhibit narcissistic traits. But the key traits such as like positivity, confidence, you exude, you're assertive. You have all these traits that actually, people are attracted. It's like attracted to. It's like the electron. You have a nucleus of an atom, and you have the electron field. There's electrons that have a force that has an affinity to the nucleus, and the force is proportional to the mass. So you can think of these positive traits as increasing mass. The more traits you increase, the more optimistic you become. You're increasing the mass, and therefore you're going to have more forces pointing in your direction. Meaning, like people are going to be attracted to your energy, positive energy, um, and rather than negative energy, which is repulsive. Negative energy is like a vibration force. It's like what splits the atom. So entropy, anything that's negative, it causes instability. So that is a critical thing, to be optimistic. And another factor is divergence. Because if you just if you're always comfortable in your environments and you're not straying away from the boundaries of your environment frequently, and you're always in the very localized region, well, opportunities, of course, are going to converge or are going to increase to the maximum potential when you exhibit the positive traits, and provided that you latch onto them. Opportunities can exist in so many different regions, but there exist opportunities in other regions of the globe, such that if you were to travel to that one area instantaneously, you would captivate, or you would be able to latch onto this opportunity and convert the potential energy into kinetic energy, and actually utilize it. So there's so many different opportunities that exist in multiple different areas or regions. So therefore, by diverging from your area of observation, or your typical environment, you increase the opportunities. Another factor is network. So of course, people who have a good social group tend to have more opportunities, because most fields are, you deal with social situations on a daily basis, and this is predominant in majority of fields. And opportunities are predicated on social encounters. If people didn't exist and you were the only one on the world, it kind of collapses in terms of the opportunities that are catalyzed by people. And in order to reach it, you need to. It's like the game of billiards. You got to be able to bounce around and show the optimistic spirit, positive energy, and be able to um, direct yourself in this world in multiple different areas. Because opportunities are not just going to be handed to us. We have to go seek them, and that's the key criteria. And I just think like being uh, when you're optimistic, and especially like another a big key factor is like exercise, because optimism is proportional to mental and physical health, or the degree that, or the status of our body, because you know it's dictated based on the oxygenation of the brain, and when your brain doesn't receive a lot of oxygen, which it degrades over time, you lose processing speed, you lose the capacity to solve novel problems. You start deteriorating or decaying, and the rate of decay is inevitable, but we can prevent that through exercise and aerobic activity. So that's another factor if you want to enhance opportunities, is to always, maintain fitness, physical fitness. And these are just, areas um, that should be pretty evident. But just through my experience, I've noticed that in terms of success, um, especially nowadays, there needs to be a breaking point. If you have an idea that has worked, there needs to be a point where you can leverage that idea and improve it to some degree, make it useful. And I think nowadays what people want in the future is speed. Processing speed's increasing because the demands of society are increasing. You got more load, more go to Starbucks. You got lines, people going to Starbucks day after day by number, just by the numbers are expanding. It's crazy, and therefore if the employee load stays the same, you have to increase processing speed uh, to satisfy the demands of the customers, and therefore your executive function, all these tasks, like everything needs to speed up because there's more people, the population's increasing, and so forth. So especially in these populated or these densely populated areas, processing speed is definitely going to increase. And guess what? The opportunities are enhanced or maximized in these areas. There's more opportunities in or densely populated areas like Dallas, New York, California, and um, so it is imperative to create something, come up with something that is quick and efficient. We want speed and efficiency and usability. You want something that, because patience, when processor speed increases, patience floors. The propensity for impatience increases. And of course, it's like you go on a highway. This is an analogy. You're going very fast, 100 miles per hour. So then abruptly you stop and you're going 15 miles per hour. Well, in this case, that 15 is going to drag. It's going to seem so much slower. You're going to perceive it as so much slower because you haven't adapted, you haven't adjusted. Just like your eyes adjust when you go from light to dark. You just, and therefore, to overcompensate, you tend to drive faster, and it's easier to have a speeding ticket. That's why police officers, it's probably smart of them to be in that area where you're, the ramp off the highways, or where you're slowing down, or in that localized region, because the probability is likely higher for that reason. And because of this, we, we have to tend to, shift between tasks very rapidly, and don't really have the attention span to spend much time in various tasks. So usability is critical, and also we are becoming a picture-centered society. So, that's why thumbnails are evidently very important if you want to get, on YouTube. You need to increase the quality. It's just like the dollar menu at McDonald's. You look at the menu and it's captivating. You want to eat a Big Mac because it just looks so appealing, and it kind of you gravitate towards that, and we gravitate towards memes and anything with pictures. We are social media. We're flooded with pictures after pictures, and therefore we're receptive to that. We gain reward. We're basically changing the reward feedback, and it's actually becoming dampened over time. And the reason for this, suppose we were to reduce the resolution and the quality, it would actually, and suppose it's a large deviation, large distance. Well, depending on the upper limits, basically, and the distance between the quality, it's going to create a disproportionately large uh, dampening effect on our reward system based on how high the upper limit is. So if something is incredibly precise, incredibly high quality, and you lower it to something pretty low, you're going to notice a difference to such a degree. That's like with the cosmetic industry and people in bodybuilding. We're noticing defects at such high capacity. It's increasing. Things are increasing resolution. It's causing even more self-esteem problems because of that. We have to cover it up. And this is one way. If you want to gain success, if you want to gain the support of the mass, you need to focus on high quality uh, imagery, or just even your logo, if you have a company logo or anything. Of course, company logo now it's being modernized, but in general, like if you build a website, a company website, it needs to be aesthetically pleasing, and that's being more it's in more demand. So in terms of success, there's so many different pathways we can take, but the key criteria is being persistent, understanding that it's like a journey, uh, and always not letting the S curve, the minimal, or the amount of resistance needed to start steadily climbing, not letting that affect us negatively. But I just think now it can be very difficult in this uh, society because the external world seems to have much a higher influence just because the flux of you know situ the flux of uh, success stories and just people posting all their happy moments and excluding all the negative moments, because I think there's a higher threshold to reach satisfaction or happiness nowadays. Even though we have more opportunities, more possibilities at our disposal, our reward feedback's being changed and altered such that the bar is being set higher, and therefore, if you're lagging or dragging low, and you have something happen and it causes you to crash, or you deal with depression or whatnot, it can be really agonizing just knowing what existed, what is possible, what is out there that you at this current point no longer can attain. But really, keeping health markers in place, um, exercising, staying positive is probably the best way. Trying to be resist against external negativity, and this is a pathway to lead to success. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's a journey, and it takes time. But yeah, that's just all I had in terms of this segment. Hope it helped, and I will see you next time.